Greetings. So this is going to be the update for the laws of the game for 2019 for Redwood City. Let me first say that there are lots of resources that you should think about using instead of this presentation. So the ultimate source of truth is the laws of the game. They're available on the web at theifab.com/laws. There's additional documentation that I'm going to reference one of the circulars. There's an app you can get for your phone to get the laws of the game. There's a presentation on theifab.com that presents the changes, and it includes videos with the changes so that you can sort of see why the change was necessary, or maybe in some cases you can see the change, the impact of the change in a video. There's a video online about the build outline that's worth watching. So please enjoy one of those. The only reason to watch this is maybe I'll make some comments about the youth game and some comments about the relative importance of the laws of the game for AYSO in Redwood City. So I'm going to talk about the major changes in the laws of the game. There were a lot of changes this year, and they changed everything from the coin toss to how a drop ball is done, the definition of handball, and yes, they do call it the handball offense now. Goal kicks have changed. I'm going to talk about all of those. I'm going to talk about some additional minor changes. There are some additional changes that I won't mention at all, like changes to uniform requirements or something, or VAR. If you really want to be in the know, then make sure to read one of those other sources that lists the changes of the laws from last year to this year. So let's get started for changes this year. I'm going to go in order of changes in the laws. So Law 3 is the first thing where we have a change that's worth mentioning, and that has to do with the substitution procedure. So the IFAB was concerned about wasting time when doing substitutes. And so players are now required to leave the field of play at the nearest point. So if you're, we have our coaches and substitutes in the technical area, substitutes should be at the half line ready to come on, and players over here can spend a lot of time coming over here to officially stop off the field of play, and then this player comes on the field of play. And so now the requirement in the law is that the players leave by the point nearest on the field to where they are when they're going off. Now, don't do this in U8 through U14, right? We have substitutions only at midway through each half, and we're substituting several players at a time. So it's actually probably more confusing to have the players wandering around from multiple teams on multiple sides, and then it makes it harder to mark who's sitting on the bench. So for U8 through U14, don't make any changes. At U16 and 19, where we have open substitution, time wasting can be a problem. It's a technique. A coach will tell you that it's a method to run the clock, and they might start changing one player at a time as if they have a lead and time is getting close to the end of the game, in which case you should definitely insist that the player leaves the field at the closest point to where they are. Speaking of U16-19, let me do a brief advertisement that we need players. If you did U14 games last year, either as an AR or as a referee, please consider trying out a U16 game as an assistant referee, and then maybe as a referee. And if you are doing U16 and 19 games, then you should look up what the substitution procedure is. And so from Area 2N, this is what the U16-19 substitution procedure is this year. And to be honest, I can't remember if this is a change versus last year or not. I do enough different games that I check the substitution procedure before every game I do. And so when I'm doing a 16-19 game, I look up and find out that for AYSO, the 16-19 sub rule this year is any stoppage in play. So if you're doing one of those games, a coach can ask for substitutions at free kicks, at throw-ins, at goal kicks, at corner kicks. However, keep in mind that this is at the discretion of the referee. So typically I will not grant a substitution to a team when it's the opposing team that's taking the free kick and they want to take a quick one, or they're taking the throw in and they want to take a quick one. If they're actively moving to do that, then I won't grant the substitution. But if it's the team that is taking the free kick, or if that team is substituting, then everyone has the opportunity. Both sides have an opportunity to substitute during any stoppage in play. To keep things on time at 16 and 19, you should remember that substitutes must be ready to enter the field of play at the halfway line before play is stopped. And also for 16-19s, cautionable offenses, players receiving a yellow card must leave the field of play until the next legal substitution opportunity. All right, I think that's the only specific 16-19 stuff I'll talk about. Now let's go back to some things that will affect us at all levels of play. So the IFAB changed the coin toss. This one blew me away that they even bothered to change the coin toss. I was perfectly happy with the coin toss the way it was. But their reports are that there are teams that want to take the first kickoff. So now the team that wins the coin toss, still visiting team, right, chooses the side, and the winner of the coin toss gets to decide either the direction to attack in the first half or to take the first kickoff. If they decide to take the first kickoff, then the other team gets to decide direction. So there's now an asymmetric issue. If they choose direction, then the other team has nothing to decide. They automatically get the first kickoff. If they choose to take the first kickoff, then the other team does have something to decide. And so now it's basically going to be impossible for the coaches to give their U10 players instructions for all the possible permutations as they come in. So just help the kids out, memorize the coin toss so that you're comfortable with exactly what choices are going to have to be made and by whom, and help them work through it. So drop balls have changed. Last year, the philosophy was there were no manufactured drop balls, and this year all drop balls are manufactured. And so basically, if the ball was last touched in the penalty area, then the drop ball goes to the defending goalkeeper. And so in that case, it's very simple. If it's outside of the penalty area, then the ball is dropped to the team that basically had possession, last touched or played the ball. And players on the other team, you're dropping to a particular team now. There's not a player of either side going there. So players on the other team must be 4 meters away. Interestingly, this is a case where we now have an integer number of meters in the laws of the game instead of an integer number of yards that's been converted to a non-integer number of meters. So the goals, thankfully, are still 8 yards wide, and players have to be 10 yards away from the ball for a free kick, but now the law specifies that as 9.15 meters. Well, here we have the case where players have to be 4 meters or approximately 4.5 yards away from the ball when a drop ball is played. In any case, drop ball, no change, but drop ball still has to be touched by more than one player before it goes into the goal for a goal to be scored. So you can dribble off a drop ball. There's no second touch violation. But in order to score a goal, some other player must contact the ball before it goes into the goal. Now, because all drop balls are to a particular team, if a dog comes onto the field, you have to decide who had possession of the ball. And so you may want to think about this before you blow your whistle and stop the game for something like an extra ball on the field or a dog on the field, as long as it's not immediately affecting play. You might want to see who has possession so that you can restart it in an appropriate manner. And you might not want to stop a promising attack inside the penalty area because there's a dog on the other end of the field. So pay attention when you're about to stop the game for a reason that's going to restart with a drop ball, because the drop ball is no longer a neutral restart. There's still going to be times, of course, when on the 10U field, a ball bounces into the same cluster of players that has the ball, and you have no idea which ball is the game ball and which player touched it last. You still have to drop the ball to a particular team. So drop the ball to, for lack of anything better, the defending team if you're unsure. I mean, try to make a judgment about who touched it last or played it last. But if you're totally clueless, then give it to the defense, I guess. The other thing that happens is we have a new case where a drop ball might occur. So now, if the ball touches a match official and remains on the field of play, we used to say, the referee was part of the field, and so it was just as if it had bounced off the water sprinkler head or whatever. The game kept going. However, it looked bad if an official got hit by the ball and then something happened, like a goal was immediately scored or bounced off the referee into the goal, or it went to another team because the referee was hit. So now, if the ball hits the referee and the team starts a promising attack off of that, or the ball goes directly into the goal after hitting the referee, or even the team in possession of the ball changes, then blow your whistle, stop the game, and restart with a drop ball. And we saw some of this in the World Cup this year. So referees are not part of the field if that's unfair. Still do your best to stay out of the way of the ball so that you don't have to do this drop ball. All right, handling the ball has also changed. So I like to think of this really as IFAB has decided to give some additional guidance of things and try to make things fair. So it is still the case that deliberately handling the ball is a foul. So deliberately touches the ball with their hand arm, including moving the arm towards the ball. That's at the very top of this. That's still a foul or an offense. In addition, IFAB has decided that you should not, even if it wasn't deliberate, you shouldn't accidentally score a goal when hands were involved in any way. So if the attacking team scores off of someone's hand or creates a goal scoring opportunity, then that's not a goal, and it's an offense, and there's a direct free kick to the defense, right? Of course, if the ball goes off the hand of a defender and goes into the goal, then still play advantage, allow the goal to be scored rather than worrying about was there a denial of an obvious goal scoring opportunity. Let the goal stand. So in addition to this clarification that deliberately handling the ball is still an offense, and even if it wasn't deliberate, but it went off a player's hand and into the goal or created a goal scoring opportunity, that's also clearly an offense. There's a couple of usually in the law. So basically, IFAB has taken some things that we might have previously found in advice to referees and incorporate those into the laws of the game. This means you do still have to exercise judgment, but the guidance that IFAB is providing is that it is usually an offense if the ball touches the hand and the arm when the player is making their body unnaturally bigger, or if the hand or the arm is above shoulder level, so up in the air, then you don't have to worry about, well, was their hand deliberately up in the air? Was their hand deliberately out to the side? You can decide that that's a handling offense. IFAB provides the additional guidance that it is usually not a offense if the ball touches the player's hands or arms directly from the player's own head or body. So there's a lot of times when the ball sort of rolls up the body or bounces off the foot, it isn't quite played just correctly as the kick, and it runs into the hand of the player. And so IFAB has said, well, that's usually not a foul. And I think this is important because now that we actually have this thing called the handball offense, and we're going to hear people calling handball, and we can't say that's not part of the laws anymore, it's still important to know that you can't just kick the ball at your opponent's hand and have that be an offense and get a free kick out of it, right? So if the ball comes directly from the head or body, including the foot of another player who is close, that is usually not an offense. So you can't kick the ball at close range into somebody's hand and hope to get a free kick out of it. And you should read the text in details, because if a player falls and then the hand and the arm that's between the body and the ground doesn't count as a handball, but the hand that's sticking up in the air and making the body larger, that does count as a handball. So read the laws in detail, but there is some additional guidance to calling handball now. Free kicks. There's been a change for free kicks to sort of reduce confrontation in a defensive wall. So free kick, especially close to the goal, and yeah, so foul here. Attackers are kicking from this spot close to the goal. Defense sets up a wall. Offense would like to have some players in here too, because maybe they want to pass it or whatever. So now players are required, if the defensive wall consists of at least 3 players, then the attackers are required to be a meter away. And so this means we don't have to worry so much about conflict in the wall. There's a simple separation. There can't be jostling and fighting. If the defense gets 3 people there, that's their space. Not likely to have much of impact at the U10 level, but at the older kids level, this will be a nice thing to have. The rules for the penalty kick have changed. It used to be that the keeper had to have both feet on the goal line. Now 1 foot has to be on the goal line, and 1 foot can be into the field of play. I guess this is a response to the fact that the kicker running up to take the ball can stutter step, and the keeper now can sort of react a little bit, keeping 1 foot on the line and 1 foot to start to make a move. The claim is that this makes it easier for the referee. I'm not sure. We'll have to see whether that's true or not. But now when you're giving instructions, so if there's a penalty kick, give instructions to everyone on the field, to the kicker. He can't take the kick until the whistle. To the players, they can't move until the kick, not the whistle. And to the goalkeeper, he can move up and down and side to side, but he must keep 1 foot. He or she must keep 1 foot on the line until the ball is kicked. Not the whistle, but until the ball is kicked. All right, fun. The goal kick. So now a goal kick is in play when the ball is kicked and clearly moved. It no longer has to leave the penalty area. This is a big change for youth soccer. So if you've done a lot of U10 games, then your whistle basically goes off automatically anytime another player inside the penalty area kicks the ball off the goal kick, right? So player takes a goal kick, attacker runs in, or defender runs in, no matter what, whoever touches the ball, that used to be a retake. It is not anymore. The ball is in play once it is kicked and moved. So it is legal for the defense to kick the ball for the goal kick, and this attacker that started right outside the penalty area to intercept the slow-moving ball here and put it into the net. So thank goodness in U10 we have the build-out line, right? So on the goal kick in U10, there will be a build-out line, and all attackers will have to be behind the build-out line, Now, defenders, if they want, they can play it to another defender inside the penalty area and start to build out. But as soon as this is kicked, the attackers can cross the build-out line and start to be involved in the play. The nice thing is that that's a clear demarcation. There used to be this question of, okay, did the attackers have to wait to cross the build-out line until the ball was in play? But now, since the ball is in play, as soon as it is kicked, the attackers can cross the build-out line as soon as the ball is kicked. So that part is a nice clarification. Now, at U10, we have the build-out line. So when there's a goal kick setting up, we as referees are encouraging people to be behind the build-out line. At the older ages, players had to move outside of the penalty area anyway, and both defense and offense would move outside of the penalty area because they couldn't touch it inside the penalty area. But now the defense can stay because they might want to play it to a defender inside the penalty area and build out. But the attackers still have to leave. The attackers may need some additional encouragement to leave. So just like at U10, we tell the attackers that they have to be beyond the build-out line. Red team, please be outside the build-out line. We may have to be telling the team on the goal kicks, hey, red team, you have to be outside the penalty area. Now, if you read the laws as they're written, there's still some confusion because there's a lot of language that they left in about retakes of the goal kick that if the ball isn't in play yet. And so those paragraphs were assuming that there was this time period while the ball was traveling here where it wasn't in play yet. And so now some of those texts don't make as much sense. And so, in fact, IFAB issued a clarification just a month ago, very quickly after releasing the new laws of the game or having them come into effect, to try to clarify some things about the goal kick. So the first thing I don't think we really have to worry about, but it's possible for the goalkeeper, for example, to be taking the goal kick, to have a teammate here, goalkeeper to pop it up into his teammate's chest, and then grab the ball with their hands. They can't do it directly because that would be a second touch violation, but they could pop it to an opponent, get it in their hands, and then they've converted a goal kick into a punt. Apparently this happened at the high levels. IFAB has decided that this practice should not be permitted, nor should it be penalized, which I have a problem with as a referee, because if there's something that's wrong that I can't allow, I have to have a response. Well, so I guess there's no really foul, or there's no misconduct going on here, but it is a retake if this trickery is employed by one of the teams. Now, more importantly to us, especially in the older kids, is that they've made a distinction between players genuinely not having time to leave the penalty area. So the defense is taking a goal kick, and they want to take a quick kick quickly, so they put the ball on the ground and they kick it out here. And an attacker was walking back here, and the keeper miskicks it to this attacker who then scores a goal. That's okay. That's a legal goal. But if an opposing player was deliberately staying in the penalty area, then the goal kick should be retaken. And so now we again have this unfortunate judgment call where we have to decide, was the attacker deliberately staying in the penalty area? And that's why I think it's going to be important for us as referees to tell the team, the attackers, that they have to leave the penalty area. So red team out of the penalty area, if they're still standing there, then that looks deliberate. If they're actually walking towards the boundary and they get hit by the ball as the defenders are taking a kick, then that looks like they genuinely did not have time to leave. But without sort of that instruction to please leave, then it's less clear, are they deliberately remaining in the penalty area. So I suggest, especially at the younger kids, that we encourage the attackers to leave the area on a goal kick. And that's it. So once again, like I said, there are lots of good resources out there. The stuff on the build outline, I think, is very helpful and has been updated for the new rule of the ball being in play as soon as the ball is kicked and moved. And the matrix has not had any major changes to it. So we'll still have that available as a handout, but sort of number of players on the team varying by age and size of the field and number of quarters that a goalkeeper can play, and all that is still on the handout sheet and has not changed this year. But we do have enough changes this year that you should definitely make sure in your pregame conference with your assistant referees that they are up to date on these laws as you are now. So thank you.